Lucky, lucky you. So we'll get started with the board reconvening. Commissioner, do you have any comments?
I do not. I think we're ready to go.
We'll move right in then to the Academic Research and Student Affairs Committee.
Yep, which is you, so you'll just hand that off to yourself.
I'll wait for our staff person. Deputy Commissioner Tessman will join us. So we don't have an internet connection in front of us or behind us.
They're getting close.
Hopefully you're all able to follow the agenda on your own computers as we wait for this to boot up. For some reason, we have from 8:30 to 9 o'clock scheduled for board reconvenes. And that's just going to take me this long, board reconvenes. So we are moving on to Academic Research and Student Affairs Committee. Let's pull up that agenda.
Madam Chair, how about if I make 2 comments before we start?
Yes, Commissioner Christian.
So I don't editorialize too often, but we had a few conversations after the breakfast, and I just want to try to add a small window of clarity even from some of the conversations yesterday. We sometimes, I think, wrongly assume that we're all fighting over the same student, and yet we're at 35% of attracting Montana students. If we're at 100%, then yeah, we're all fighting over the same students. But at 35%, that's just not the game. We're leaving out 65% of Montanans that are either going somewhere else for their education or not seeking an education. And I just continue to think, whether you're looking at it from a business perspective and we think of those individuals as resources, there's all the resources we need if we can do 2 things: attract a lot larger breadth of those students to come to our institutions. And I think clearly that's the best thing for the state, for our workforce needs, which we've heard a lot about, and for those students. And then I guess the other piece of that is if we can retain those students at a higher rate. But honestly, we have all the students we need and all the resources we need if we really focus on those 2 areas: attracting a larger group, retaining the ones that come to us. And it turns out that's the best thing in the world that we could do for the state of Montana, for the economy, for the workforce, and ultimately for those students. That's the students that we need to be serving, and those are the students we need to see come to us, find an area that they can be successful, and help them to be successful. And I honestly think, to some extent, the 35% probably already know they're coming to us, and they probably already know, a lot of them, where they're going, and they probably already have a pretty good idea what their plans are. And they're probably not first generation, and you know, it's a different game. I think it's students that probably put on the right jersey when they were 3 years old and had a thought where they were headed already. And yet there's so many opportunities from our community colleges to our travel colleges to our career technical education that we could broaden that breadth of students that we offer services to, that I really think we're missing the boat. And I just want us to be careful not to worry or have too much concern over the 35 as that's some zero-sum end game, and start thinking more broadly about the 65, how we can get them here and how we can help retain those. So, Madam Chair, with that little bit of editorial, I think we are ready for your committee, and we've got technology on our side.
Thank you, Commissioner. Academic Research Student Affairs Committee. First item on the agenda is the consent item. This is a revision to minimum grades BOR policy 301.5.3. Do any members of the committee or the board wish to pull this item off the consent agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on. The next item is action. This is the level 2 executive summary. This is actually program review. There are several items under this agenda item. These are our reviews of programs that are in the planning process. I'm going to turn this over to Deputy Commissioner Tessman to describe briefly the process and then go through each of these programs.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. This action item, our level 2 approvals, really represents the bulk of what the Academic Research and Student Affairs Committee does for the Board of Regents. And I want to emphasize that the program proposals that you'll hear about today are really kind of at a point of culmination. This is a culmination of a long process. There have been extensive discussions with the faculty and administrators that are developing the program proposals. The chief academic officers from all of the campuses in the MUS have had a chance to discuss these proposals. At certain points in time, there are offline discussions to resolve any potential issues related to program duplication and mode of delivery, et cetera. But we're very pleased to present these programs here today. And I believe there are representatives from the 3 campuses concerned that will discuss the proposals in somewhat more detail, although I always encourage these presentations to be concise. The first program proposal for consideration comes from Montana State University Billings, and it's for an MS degree in Adventure Leadership in Health and Recreation. And I believe that we have Interim Vice Chancellor Mary Susan Fishbaugh here, and I believe we may have a couple of other representatives. But Mary Susan?
Turn it on. There's a button on the, there you go. Thank you.
I could use my, cheer on the Bishop Lures Knights voice, and you could probably all hear. Madam Chair, members of the board who are remaining, thank you for being here. We are really excited to present this graduate degree in outdoor adventure leadership. Our undergraduate degree is unique in the state and is well enrolled, and we're excited to offer another stage in that preparation. So I'm going to ask the interim vice provost to give you more detail and to answer any questions, as she's been working closely with the College of Allied Health Professions as this has moved forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fishbaugh. I am so excited to be able to introduce this program today to the board. This is a perfect fit for MSU Billings. Not only does it absolutely fit in our mission, as Commissioner Clayton noticed yesterday, our allied health field is one of the fastest growing on our campus, but also in the region. One of our core themes is enhancing the community, and this program absolutely does that. From Eagle Mount to the Wounded Warrior Project to Casting for Recovery, students who graduate with the Master of Science in Adventure Leadership, in Recreation and Health, will be able to assist people with various mental disabilities, health disabilities, psychiatric disabilities, to use recreation to improve the quality of their lives. I'm going to invite Suzette Ninus, who is the department chair for HHP, to talk a little bit about how this program came into being at MSU Billings. Suzette?
Good morning. I would like to share a little information with you as far as how our department got to this point. Currently, we have a bachelor's degree in outdoor adventure leadership, which has grown significantly over the course of the past 4 or 5 years. In our department, we noticed that there might be something more that we can do, and so we started brainstorming, and rec therapy has always kind of been in the back of our mind. But as the program is growing and we started looking at the demands, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, we're seeing projected growth in this area. And so we did some research and we decided, this would be a great master's degree. We'd like to offer it in 2 tracks, where we would have a master's in outdoor adventure leadership, so those individuals who are currently in the program could go on and get their master's. And then another track would be to allow those or other students to come in and pursue their rec therapy degree, which Dr. Sue Balter-Wright had mentioned, so that we can better serve our population with recreational therapy and not your traditional pharmaceutical type interventions. And so that's where we came to that as far as looking at demand. We did survey our current students, and of the students we did survey, we surveyed them in 2017. About half of the students were interested in pursuing either the master's in the outdoor adventure leadership or rec therapy route. So institutionally, there's demand for that as well.
Questions? Paul, Regent Tuss.
Thank you, and thank you for that presentation. This has to be the coolest name for a major in the world. When somebody says that they could have a major in adventure leadership, that's pretty cool. We talked a lot about this during this committee's conference call and the relevance of this particular area of study relative to Montana's economy and the global economy, and I'm fully supportive of this. One of the things I'm not sure that we did discuss is the program fee. There's what I consider to be a fairly hefty program fee of $925 per semester. Could you dive into that a little bit more for us?
I sure can. So I'm also the program director for the athletic training program. And when we started our collaboration with the University of Montana, we implemented a program fee to help support faculty, additional faculty members, student supplies, travel to professional conferences. We're going to use this fee very similarly to offset those, and specifically the recreational therapy part of it requires internships, and we're going to need to hire part-time adjunct faculty who are rec therapists who can supervise our students, and so that will go to offset that, that cost.
Any other questions? I had one, actually two. How long has the bachelor's degree been available at MSUB?
I believe it was 2009 when it first was in full force. So I don't know exactly when it was accepted and allowed as a degree, but I've been at the institution since 2009, and I remember it. So I apologize, I don't have specific numbers.
Oh, that's okay. And you indicated that 50% of the students you surveyed from that program were interested in the master's. Mm-hmm. What's the student count in this bachelor's program?
Currently, I think we're at 24 students. At the time that we surveyed the students, we had a few more, and 16 responded that they would be interested at that time.
Thank you. Any other questions? Comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item, Deputy Commissioner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. The next item, the next items come from Montana State University in Bozeman, and Provost Makwa is here to introduce these items. The first of which is a proposal for a MA degree in teaching. Provost Makwa.
Thank you, Deputy Commissioner Tessman and Chair Sheehy. So Montana State University, with this proposal, is requesting authorization to offer a Master's of Art in Teaching program. This program is structured to be fully online, with the exception of a 10-day intensive summer teaching academy. The target audience for the program are individuals who live in the state that already have a bachelor's degree but desire to enter into the teaching profession and to obtain a licensure in teaching. The program is structured to be completed in 1 calendar year. And so it would be 3 semesters of 12 credit hours, which would include the summer. We anticipate initially starting with a student cohort of 20 students, but from every indication that based on the demand that we see, we anticipate ramping up to 40 students a cohort after a few years. This program is similar to a previous program that we offered called the Northern Plains Transition to Teaching, which also focused on enhancing the number of educators in rural areas of the state of Montana. Over the last few years, we have made modifications to that program. At one time, it was offered as a self-support program through an extended university model. We've rolled all of those back into academic colleges, and we took the opportunity at that time to revamp the program, to update it, to take into account recommendations from the Montana Rural Education Task Force. And that's what's brought us to this point. There are 4 content areas that the teachers, at least initially, that we will focus on. Broad field social science or social studies, general science, math, and writing. We heard yesterday from Amy Williams the need for increasing the pipeline of teachers in rural school districts to address, to be able to offer dual enrollment courses. And so as this new offering, new opportunity for dual enrollment courses was brought to us, we feel that with some enhancements that this program will help meet that need and will support more teachers in rural areas who are credentialed and qualified to teach dual enrollment courses. So the department head of our education, Tricia Seifert, is here. And Tricia, if you would like to add some more, and she certainly would be able to address any questions that you might have.
Go ahead. Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity, Board of Regents. I think what makes this program so important in the state of Montana is that we recognize that as the land-grant university, there is a need and a shortage of teachers across the state, and particularly in rural districts and in specific content areas across the state. We believe that this one-year intensive graduate program that can be completed in a place-based format online provides an opportunity for those who want to be part of a solution in their rural community with a bachelor's degree to, in one intensive calendar year, be able to complete all of the requirements for licensure. We've expanded the program because we know that the largest area is in elementary. And our previous Northern Plains transition to teaching only was at the secondary level. And so we think that this really provides opportunities for folks in Broadus and for in Big Sandy who have bachelor's degrees but do not have a teaching credential to be able to contribute in their communities and to meet those really current and urgent needs. This is an interesting program in that it very intentionally from the beginning is focused on rural education and concludes with a capstone as part of the student teaching experience, which is a reflective inquiry in rural education. It's experiential and field-based at every single semester, and so that 10-day residency in Bozeman, students very early on test out to see if teaching is for them by working as part of our collaborative summer camps program. And then through their methods courses in the fall, will be engaged in their local schools and then student teach in the spring. We're excited by the opportunities for dual enrollment that to then ladder in 3 summer courses so that someone could literally come out and in 15 months have their master's degree, their teaching credential, and be able to meet the requirements to offer dual enrollment in their high schools. We're excited by this opportunity for what it means for Montana.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Regent Lozar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to sort of clarify the additional 3 classes for dual enrollment, is that attached to this particular program? And if not, what are some of the ways in which you can sort of encourage folks to continue on to essentially address Regent Rogers' question yesterday about how can we get more teachers in B and C schools?
Absolutely. When we put forward this proposal a year ago, the 1-2 Free project had not been initiated. And so in the last week and a half, we've been thinking, how can we market and advertise the opportunities as we get ready to roll out this program? And I think it's really in saying, in a year's time, you'll have your teaching credential. And then if you take 3 classes over in the May terms or over our summer 4x4s at MSU Bozeman, you can also complete the extended graduate study necessary to be able to offer dual enrollment. So I think we'll have to put that together and as an expanded package in our marketing and discussion with potential prospective students.
Anyone else? I'd like to thank both of you for your presentation. I'd also like to emphasize that this is something that's come to fruition. We created a task force, we looked at recruitment, retention, education, and this is a response to that. And it's nice to see something that we started several years ago, we've heard reports on, come to fruition in a program that is very exciting. So thank you both.
Thank you.
Deputy Commissioner, next item.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. The next item is also from Montana State University in Bozeman, and the proposal is for an MS degree in data science. Provost Makwa.
Thank you, Deputy Commissioner Tessman and Chair Sheehy. So Montana State University is requesting authorization to offer a Master's of Science in Data Science. This is a multidisciplinary program that's offered jointly through our Department of Mathematical Sciences, in applied mathematics, statistics, and in computer science. The program consists of 30 credit hours. It's structured to provide a balance of theoretical underpinnings as well as practical skills. There's a tremendous demand in the industry for graduates that have data science and analytical skills. We've provided some references. One reference indicated that there was a shortage of about 140,000 trained data scientists. A more recent reference indicates that that's probably closer to 400,000. So there's a tremendous demand for students with particular skills in these areas and students with general skills in these areas. Our department head of mathematical sciences, Beth Burrows, is here today, and she can provide some more background and address any questions you may have.
Thank you. Just as a brief introduction, data science is the use of data sets to ask and answer important questions that might arise in the analysis of problems in society, in business, in science itself. The storage and analysis of the data happens using the tools and technology coming from the discipline of computer science. The prediction and analysis of the structure of the data uses tools and technology from the discipline of applied mathematics. And the understanding and attention to uncertainty that's inherent in these kinds of problems uses the tools and techniques that come from statistics. So it's an interdisciplinary discipline just by its very nature. And so that's how we've created this program, to make use of the resources we have across those three disciplines at MSU.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Regent Lozar.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Knowing that University of Montana has the same program, or we started the same program just recently, in terms of your conversations with the University of Montana, did you discuss the potential for potentially sharing core classes that can be taught between both the institutions?
Yes, so the collaborations between University of Montana, Montana Tech, which has a bachelor's degree, and MSU have all been ongoing since essentially these two programs have been generated simultaneously, recognizing this need. And so yes, we've been talking about ways to share courses using distance technology. Later next month, at the end of October, there will be a data science summit that we'll hold in Butte with representatives from the three campuses to talk about collaborations and make sure we understand what each of our programs offers and how we can collaborate moving forward.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Well, just to second that, Madam Chair, I think this is absolutely an area of demand. It's an area that many universities are moving into. Many of them are online. Many of them are online only. And it is imperative, I think, that we work together on this to have the best kind of joint programs. If we cannot build siloed programs that aren't coordinated, because we will then have multiple subpar programs. And I would just encourage us to make sure that, we always, it's, of course, let's not let our intention to collaborate dissipate post-approval. And University of Montana is very much encouraged and wants to do that, but let's not let that impetus to make sure that we're collaborative here dissipate, because this is a big need. Just as there's a shortage of trained data science professionals, there's a shortage of trained data science experts to teach in this field as well. So I just want to make sure that we serve Montana most effectively together in this important field.
Thank you, President. At this morning's breakfast, Dan Carter of ExxonMobil asked us all to think about what science is today. And I appreciate you giving us the definition of data science. And having now heard the definition, I think that as data scientists, you are particularly qualified to work together to figure out how to use our resources. So thank you for continuing that collaboration, and update us when the summit occurs on the results of that summit. Great. Any other questions or comments? Next item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, we have one more item from Montana State University in Bozeman, and it's for the reestablishment of a separately named PhD in chemical engineering. Provost Makwa.
Thank you, Deputy Commissioner Tessman. So MSU is requesting authorization to offer a PhD in chemical engineering. We currently offer a PhD in engineering with an option in chemical engineering, and this proposal requests a reestablishment of a standalone PhD in chemical engineering. We graduated our first student in chemical engineering with a PhD in chemical engineering in 1956. And then over the years, in the mid-90s, Montana State University made a decision to combine all of our PhD in engineering programs into one general PhD program with options in the various disciplines. Well, since that time, our program in chemical engineering has grown almost exponentially. In the last 7 years, our number of majors has increased by a factor of 2.5. We have more faculty members, tenure track, research intensive teaching faculty members in the department, about double that we had back in the late 1990s. Students desire a degree, a credential that better reflects the specialty area, the discipline area, which would be in chemical engineering. In many areas in industry, that carries more significance than a general PhD in engineering. And so this is primarily to address student interest, and also we believe it will help us to recruit the best and brightest students from around the country who are interested in pursuing a PhD in chemical engineering.
Comments? I think at the committee level, we talked about how we've already done this with electrical engineering.
That's correct.
So
that's correct, yes.
The path is well-trod.
It is. So the board approved last year this same kind of transition to develop a PhD in electrical engineering. That was approved this summer by the Northwest Council of Colleges and Universities, our accrediting body, and this fall we will begin, students will begin entering that program.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, thank you.
Deputy Commissioner Tessman, you said one more, you just meant MSU. There are actually two more.
Correct, Madam Chair. From one more from Montana State University in Bozeman, and on behalf of the board, and as part of our mission to report data and report progress as new programs emerge or reemerge, I would love to see us over the course of the next 3 or 4 years track the impact that these re-emerging PhDs have on enrollment and student success. I know it's too early to do that right now, but we can work together to track the impact of these re-specifications of the different engineering doctoral programs.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So 2 more items, Madam Chair, members of the committee, both from the University of Montana in Missoula, and Provost John Harbour is here to introduce both of these items. The first of which is to retitle the Department of Communicative Sciences and Disorders to the Department of Speech, Language, and Hearing Sciences. Provost Harbour.
Before you begin, I want to welcome you, Provost Harbour, to Montana and to your first Board of Regents meeting, I think, as a participant. Thank you.
Great, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. So the first proposal is to rename a department. As you pointed out, I'm new here, and as I was looking across the set of departments at the University of Montana, Missoula, I stumbled on this one and said, is this the same as? So there's a national trend in the naming of this area to speech, language, and hearing sciences, and so our department is in line with that trend in wanting to change its name from communicative sciences and disorders. What will this do for us? It will more readily differentiate the department from our Department of Communication Studies. Some of our students are confused about which does what, and so that will remove that confusion. It'll more accurately reflect and describe what the department does. It's consistent with the practice in the field. And at the same time, it will increase attention and visibility for the undergraduate and graduate programs amongst students who are on campus. So as students in fields such as education, early childhood, education-related health professions, and human sciences, those students will become more aware of opportunities such as pre-service speech, language, and hearing undergraduate programs, as well as the opportunity to move into our graduate professional program. Right now, this department has about 75 graduate students and 130 undergraduate students, so it's a robust and important program for the university, and we're very keen to see the name change. It won't result in any change in resources used by the department, and there are no other speech, language, hearing sciences programs in the MUS.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, let's move to the next item.
Madam Chair, I believe we have a question from Regent Lozar. This next item is our last item.
All right, go ahead.
Our next item is also from the University of Montana at Missoula, and it is for a new Bachelor's of Science degree in computational biochemistry.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. We currently have programs in computer science and biochemistry, and these programs working together are proposing a joint degree program in computational biochemistry. This will provide foundational coursework in chemistry, biochemistry, biology and computer science, as well as advanced coursework in biochemistry, bioinformatics, genomics, and computer science. This prepares students for careers in rapidly increasing fields such as bioinformatics, genomics, and computational biology, both in terms of completing their undergraduate, but then moving on into graduate programs in those more specific areas. It gives them pathways to employment opportunities in biotech, pharmaceutical, and medically related industries. It leverages the expertise of some of our most recently hired faculty in computer sciences. One of the real nice things about this is that all of these courses currently exist, so it's a way of packaging our existing courses in a new way to meet the needs of students and industry and graduate programs. So we're not requesting new faculty to implement this, and so there's no additional cost to the University of Montana in terms of faculty. There are no similar programs to this in the MUS, so it will provide a unique opportunity for students in Montana.
Provost Harbour, could you tell me what a job in bioinformatics might look like, or genomics?
Yeah, so in bioinformatics, so it actually relates to this conversation we just had about the importance of the data sciences. And so having people who understand how to use large data in biology, in drug discovery, in better understanding ways in which we seek to cure diseases. So these are people who understand how to do the computer science applications in the biologic fields that are a very rapidly growing part of what we do in industry.
Thank you, that's helpful. Any other questions? Casey, this is our last item. Did you have a comment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was going through the supporting documentation just on all of these, so this doesn't relate to this particular item, but going back to our conversations about the review process, is, and maybe this is just a clarifying question, but is the fiscal analysis form, is that the form that we're using now to set the stage for review in 4 or 5 years? Is that the addition that we've added into this process?
Deputy Commissioner?
Well, of course, some of this predates my arrival, but that is my understanding, is that would be at least the basis for the review that would occur down the road. I see Joe Teal standing up here, and Joe, since you'll be outlining some of the information items in a moment, maybe this is a good time for you to come to the podium and, as our Director of Academic Policy and Research, talk a little bit about that fiscal analysis form.
Regent Lozer, yeah. That's the form where we're gathering the information that we would then follow up on in 3 years.
Okay. And as a follow-up to that, it looked like there were some that had the actuals that they expected, and then there were some that had actuals plus projections. So I'm assuming essentially we're going to move to the model of actual projections and then go off of that form.
That's right.
Okay. So we'll need to be consistent moving forward with that. Thank you, Joe.
Any other questions for soon-to-be Dr. Teal? Any questions about this agenda item? All right, thank you. Yes.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Joe, sorry to keep you standing up there for a second. I just wanted to outline very briefly a few thoughts on the discussions we've just had, the role that the Commissioner's Office and the board plays in the academic program planning process, and I guess even more broadly, what we really aim to do here as part of the Academic Research and Student Affairs Committee. I mean, you think about that as part of the university system, academics, research, and student affairs. I hope that that captures the vast majority of what our action is as a university system. And as I see it, there are sort of 3 levels of contribution that this committee can make, and ultimately that the Commissioner's Office can administer. And the first level of responsibility is really data reporting, enforcing board policy, and of course that's at the heart of what we do. We'll continue to do that. The second level is what we've just discussed. I believe that the role of this committee and of our staff at the Commissioner's Office is to help solve coordination problems that exist throughout the state. It is just a reality when you have the number of independent, self-interested, and yet collectively minded campuses that we have in the state, that there is an interest in more coordination. And the coordination challenges we face are wide-ranging, and they range all the way from common course numbering and ensuring transferability between 2-year colleges and the 4-year colleges. They relate to the way in which we seek to move the needle on our capture rate in the state. It should be a collaborative effort, and it requires coordination. And I think at the very top of the list, our coordination challenges and opportunities are manifest in the academic program planning process. And this is an area where you will see a lot of action over the next year or so, at least if I have any role in things. And the challenge is to strike a balance between a process that allows for creativity and innovation and meeting workforce demand, but also making sure that we are taking every opportunity we have to think about joint programming, online options, to make sure that we take a pretty close look, not just at strict program duplication, but at rough overlap, and if that represents an opportunity for the campuses to come together. And so it's going to 100% be a joint effort with the chief academic officers, the board, of course, and other representatives from campuses, but this is front and center for me. The last tier of responsibilities that I see our committee having, and where I think we can help, is really recognizing that our campuses share a belief that this is a transformative time in higher education, and in particular public higher education across the country. And what can we do as an office in support of the board to allow our campuses to move forward in meaningful ways and to stay ahead of the curve? The status quo will not suffice, in my humble opinion, and I would like to spend my time as Deputy Commissioner working with campus leaders, faculty, students, and staff to make sure that we are absolutely on the cutting edge and that we're reinventing public higher education in the state of Montana. We can't do it without incredible team members, and Joe, I'm sorry for having you stand up there for this much time, but you really are on stage now. The next 4 information items are all yours. So Madam Chair, if it's okay, we can move right into those.
It is okay. Before doing that, I want to welcome you to this role, Dr. Tessman, and encourage you. You've talked about the role of OCHI and this committee, but as board members, I think we always struggle between micromanaging and fulfilling our obligation as fiduciaries. So as you create this system, we are very much interested in how collaborative you've been with us and including us in figuring out exactly what we can do. Regent Lozar's help also with the coming back to these items in 4 years. So we're still struggling a little bit with process, and we encourage you to keep those lines of communications open. So let's move on to the information items.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, so we have some, I think, fairly easy information items here, but we'll start with the online learning report. I think, yeah, depending on how long you want to keep me up here. So you have an e-learning committee as part of the system. It's a group of folks that are developing the infrastructure for online learning around the state, led by Robert Squires at the University of Montana. They meet and talk about policy, about resourcing, about tools, about trainings for faculty, about platforms. And they also develop this report for you once a year, which is showing the number of courses and all of the programs that are offered online throughout the university system. It's a report we bring back once a year for your information.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? I guess I have one. You've been studying this for a while. Do you think that we're in line with the online presence that we should have?
I don't know if I'm the appropriate person to answer that question.
Give me your opinion.
A rural state, I think that we could probably be doing a lot more. Online learning also in terms of collaboration, finding new ways that courses can be offered to students already enrolled at multiple campuses to better use our resources. There's opportunities to expand in this area. You know, topics that come up in that committee are, again, what Deputy Commissioner Tessman referenced. Problems of coordination, problems of resourcing, problems of sharing resources throughout our system. So it's an area where I think there's some work we can still do.
Thank you. Deputy Commissioner.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Joe, I agree with you in the spirit of the statement you just made. I had a conversation with a student who's attending this meeting as part of a campus student government leadership, and she recently graduated from a very rural high school, extremely bright young woman, very motivated, and she said, look, this is a matter of equality and access. You talk about dual enrollment, you talk about prior learning assessment. My high school did not have the teachers or the resources in order to offer the courses I was ready to take as a high school student. So at the very least, in my humble opinion, we can work with campuses in order to have more online offerings in the area of dual enrollment so that we can reach more high schools and more high school students than we currently are. So that's one small example of an area for growth here, Madam Chair.
Though that's not to downplay some pretty impressive growth I'd say we've had over the past 10 years. So this is an area that campuses are innovating, are adding. I think that the open questions are, what are the barriers to where we can take it to the next level? And second, what are the barriers so that we can work together more intelligently to share these type of course offerings in our programs across the system?
Regent Lozar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Joe, not to put you on the spot, but in the conversations with the e-learning committee, what are the barriers that you guys discussed that can take us to the next level and take us there quickly?
Thank you, Regent Lozar. So some of the barriers, as I recall, are first, some of the funding models for infrastructure to support faculty developing online courses are challenging. So one issue is a problem of resources and building the infrastructure that undergirds online learning, both building the platforms through which it's offered, giving faculty training and time that's often more lengthy to develop these courses, giving faculty the behind-the-scenes support to offer the courses in a high-quality manner. And then I think that second, a challenge which the system has worked on over time, and I don't know the full history, is again, platforms and coordination. So thinking about how do we know what's offered where, how do students access it, what are the methods by which we might be able to give a wider variety of students access, if they're already attending MSU Billings, are there routes by which they can take an online course they're interested in at another campus? Since online removes the place barrier, can we use that as a route?
Just a comment, Madam Chair. It seems like this conversation dovetails really well with our strategic initiative number 3 that we talked about yesterday morning about integration across the system. I know we've had conversations particularly around platforms and sort of using shared platforms across campuses. So hopefully we can add this item sort of into maybe one of the bullets or sub-bullets in strategic initiative number 3 for this academic year.
Thank you. I have a question. It seemed to me there used to be at least a perception problem with online learning, that one of the barriers might be that the online classes are not qualitatively as successful as in-classroom experiences. It also seems to me that that barrier is falling down a little bit, that people are really growing used to online classes and recognizing the value and the validity of those courses. Is that true, that that barrier is falling down?
This is a pretty active area of research. So looking across the United States, I would say, my reading of the literature is that there is this issue of who succeeds at online learning. And generally, thus far, it's been the folks who've taken advantage of it and have been successful are often professionals themselves, often already educated and reskilling or upskilling. However, I do think that it's true that as students are exposed to online learning earlier on through high school, through hybrid models, as you have more young people who are used to getting all of their lives through their computer or their phone, that's changing somewhat. The other aspect is I think that one advantage of online learning is we have such scale now that we're getting better at doing the pedagogy, of doing the teaching. And that's some of this conversation about professional supports for faculty, better platforms for them to teach through, better processes to help them develop courses that are going to be useful and effective for students.
Thank you. Any other? Regent Tuss.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Joe, good presentation. Do I understand now that the university system does not know if there is a student who is on this campus at MSU Billings, but is taking an online class offered by the University of Montana? We don't know those numbers now? We don't track that? I'm very curious about what level that's happening currently in our system.
Madam Chair, Regent Tuss, could you restate the question one more time? I'm sorry, I don't.
I'm curious about, of the almost 40,000 students that we have in our system, if they're enrolled and they're a student at MSU Billings or any of the units, and they're taking an online course from another unit of our system, do we know about that? Do we track it? Do we have numbers for that?
Regent Tuss, that's something we can absolutely track. I don't know that we create regular reports on it, but it's something that we're able to do through our student data warehouse.
I think that this board would be fascinated by those numbers. If we could somehow get those numbers, I think that would be very helpful.
Madam Chair, Regent Tuss, I think Joe's response is accurate. We have the capability to look at one layer of detail below where we look right now. We can understand that students are enrolled in multiple institutions, and we can, if we decide to, track the coursework at those two institutions. Is that correct, Joe? Yeah.
That's right.
So it's a matter of intent, and we can, yeah.
Regent Lozar.
I had a similar thought that Regent Tuss had, and this is just a very detailed question, but in this case, a student at MSUB taking a class at University of Montana, do they have to go through 2 admissions processes? They do currently. Okay.
That's part of that conversation, they do.
Sounds like a data science problem. Any other questions about item A, online learning? Let's move on to information item B, accreditation report.
Madam Chair, members of the board, so this is a report on the institutions that have undergone accreditation or accreditation activities through NWCCU in the past year, and those institutions who are set to have accreditation visits in the coming year. So each year a massive amount of effort goes into building these accreditation activities, reacting to NWCCU standards, and then receiving folks from NWCCU to look at the quality of our education at our campuses, look at the resources provided for students and for faculty to ensure that we're providing a quality education. And out of those come a lot of, I think, valuable feedback for the campuses in terms of how to do better.
Any questions regarding the accreditation report? Comments? None? Let's move on to action, or to information item C.
Madam Chair, members of the board, information item C is the Level 1 memorandum from May, June, and July. So these are academic proposals, academic items that you as a board have delegated to the Commissioner's office to make decisions on. And each month we receive submissions from campuses to change the name of a program, to establish new certificates, to do various activities on their campuses. We review those, the chief academic officers across the system review them, and then we bring them to you as an information item. These are the proposals from the last 3 months since you last met.
Thank you. And with the understanding that the committee has looked at these and that we have already delegated the authority, anybody have any comments or questions about the items? No. Let's move on to information item D, intent plan proposals.
Madam Chair, members of the board, so the intent to plans, as you know, are a way to provide advance notice to you and to other campuses of academic programs that are in the process. These are areas where faculty are working to develop a Level 2 proposal that you will see at some later date. We review these on the same monthly call with all the chief academic officers, where they have an opportunity to provide input, to raise questions, to flag where they would like to have a conversation, and where we as a commissioner's office have an opportunity to encourage collaboration. So these, the ones that are new to you, are from May, June, and July.
Any questions or comments? We've all received notice of these and had a chance to review them. Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to the end of that, of the ARSA agenda.
No
Deputy
further
Commissioner,
comment,
anything
Madam
else?
Chair, no.
Okay. We can adjourn the ARSA committee meeting and return to our regular board meeting. As soon as I find the agenda for the regular board. There it is. So, having finished up with ARSA, we move on for remarks by Governor Bullock or his delegate is...
Madam Chair, Lieutenant Governor Cooney is about... Madam Chair, Lieutenant Governor Cooney is about 10 minutes away, and he would like to make some comments on behalf of the governor's office. You could either move to the, well, did we take action on the ARSA item? No. So we could either do that and then take a quick break, or we could take a break now, or whatever your pleasure, Madam Chair.
With the ARSA items fresh in mind, why don't we take our vote? So let's find the action items under the ARSA committee. First item is the consent agenda. I entertain a motion to approve the consent item.
So moved.
Any discussion from members of the board? Any discussion from campuses? Any public comment? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion passes. Moving on to action item. As you know, there were was it five or six? There were 6 programs being reviewed. Does anyone wish to look at those individually, or shall we vote on this as one action item?
Madam Chair, I have a question. I don't want to segregate any of the items. Would now be an appropriate time to ask a question about one of these items? Okay, thank you. And I apologize for not doing this when we had the conversation earlier. I'm specifically interested in the agenda item before us relative to the MA in teaching, I believe, from MSU Bozeman. And Dr. Tessman, perhaps you can answer this, or somebody from the campus can. You had mentioned in your earlier comments a lot about coordination and overlap and coordination between campuses, which we all support. I'm curious about the level of coordination or cooperation that has occurred in developing this relative to, I know a program that exists at MSU Northern, and maybe there's a vast difference in these programs, but I know that they have an MS in education. And I'm just curious about how those two work together, how they don't work together, how different they are, whether or not there's been good consultation with the folks up at Northern to see whether or not this program will be negatively impacted by the development of this program.
Madam Chair, Regent Tuss, of course, I would invite the campus, Provost Makwa, and others back to the podium to speak to the specifics. And I do know that there's an active council of deans within the different education programs around the state. And I have heard the provost and others express that the mode of delivery and the timing of this program are distinct from other programs in the state. But I'll stop there and let the campus answer your question in more detail. Thank you. Provost Makwa.
Before you speak, can I clarify that your question is about the Montana State University Bozeman MA in Teaching, which is the second item in this list of agenda items?
It is indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. And certainly there have been conversations in the statewide council of deans of education. If I could, Tricia Seifert, Mary Susan are here, and both have been involved with those conversations, and I think they will be able to address your question, Regent Tuss.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Montana State's program, Montana State University Billings has a program, master's degree, that prepares teachers for licensure. It is different from the new proposed program by Bozeman in several ways. Bozeman's program is condensed. It assumes people are full-time students and will get through this program in a year. MSU Billings program is more flexible and allows individuals who are currently teaching on provisional licenses or who are in the OPI endorsement internship program to work at a slower pace toward, they have 3 years to finish the requirements. And our courses are in online rotations, so we try to carefully advise students who are full-time teachers as they complete degree and licensure requirements so that they can maintain their full-time employment. I'm not aware of a program at Northern that does this. However, I am aware of these two programs.
I would also, Madam Chair, members of the board, add that we have been in consultation with the Montana Councils of Deans of Education from the very earliest stages and have had wonderful conversation and I would say tremendous support from our colleagues around the state, to the point that already, even though such program does not exist, we are getting inquiries and folks being sent from MSU Northern is forward on inquiries to this program, as have our colleagues at Western, as potential prospective students have shown interest. So we've been very coordinated and in conversation from the very earliest inception.
And Madam Chair and members of the board, I would say that these two programs are complementary and give students a choice of how they want to move forward in terms of becoming teachers in the school, in any school in Montana, actually.
Thank you. May I ask if Chancellor Kegel has any input into this question?
Thank you. I've got Provost Mosley here, and he went through the vetting process with these guys, so I'll let him speak on behalf of that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and members of the board. So this was part of a conversation on our campus, and really, I think a lot of the emphasis is on how to reach rural teachers and give them opportunities. And our program on our campus has a little bit different emphasis, but it also is delivered in a very different way. And so ours is more of a cohort model where students come to campus on the weekends, and it's a face-to-face program. And so, in some sense, there could be some competitiveness there. I think, again, in light of the Council of Deans that really talked about this, this is just another way to provide that access and opportunity to all of the participants in the system. Thank you.
Madam Chair, so just to confirm, Chancellor Kegel, there's not a concern. There has been collaboration. You've been involved in that dialogue with regard to this program.
Correct, we have been, and again, it's the Council of Deans, which is really where that discussion takes place, as it is in the whole ARSA process, and so that we were part of that process too. And again, it's. I think giving students options in terms of access to programs is pretty critical, and there are unique differences between all of these programs, and again, it depends on students' abilities to travel and the kind of program that they want to have access to. So that was really, I think, the underlying sense of this.
Thank you, Provost.
One more for you, Dr. Makwa. Given the need for teachers and for these degrees, is there any concern really about duplication of programs? We're trying to collaborate, but also provide enough of these degrees to fuel our market?
Absolutely, there is a demand for more teachers in rural Montana, but there's also a demand for more opportunities for individuals to obtain this teaching licensure. And I think the example of the Council of Deans is a good example of this collaborative nature of our programs. So collaboration doesn't always mean offering one program at a university that's shared, but it's deeper than that. I think the Symposium on Data Science is another good example. These education programs are established to meet the needs of students coming from very different backgrounds. The fully online program certainly will meet needs of place-bound individuals, whereas other programs are established for example, the Northern program, for students who can come and dedicate weekends to the program. And MSU Billings, as I understand, is a mixture of the two. So I think these programs are structured to meet needs. There's enough students that we feel that that these offerings are robust enough that they will all be well attended, and the enrollments will be healthy enough to maintain a critical mass.
Thank you. Regent Tuss, does that answer your question? Back to the agenda item. This is the action agenda item. It's a single item. Anybody need to segregate, or wish to segregate any of these items out for separate vote? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the item.
So moved.
Motion is pending. Any discussion or corrections from members of the board? Campuses? Any public comment? Marco.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. For the record, my name is Marco Farrow. I'm the Public Policy Director for Montana Federation of Public Employees, MFPE. I'm speaking in support of the Masters in Teaching that you just talked about. I was a member of the Rural Task Force along with my other colleagues from the Montana Education Center, Public Education Center, which is basically the ed community in Montana. It was a great process. This is one of the drops in the bucket as we talk about, that will help us solve the teacher recruitment and retention program in Montana. It's a big one. It's part of the Grow Your Own model that we're looking at that extends to not only folks that have bachelor's degrees, but also we're talking about Educator Rising, which is reaching out to prospective high school students that might want to be teachers, get them involved in the process early on. So it's one of the things that many of us are working on to address this. We want to thank the Board of Regents, first of all, for convening the work of the task force, to recognizing the issue. I think it was a couple of years ago now in Havre, if I remember, that you had a panel before you that expressed the need for this. You reacted very quickly. You're doing your part, and I think that's great. It's a very good task force. We continue to meet. I want to thank Angela McLean from the OCHI office for her leadership in that, and the Council of Deans, and primarily MSU in this respect for answering the call to help us with this crucial problem. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Marco, and thank you for your service on that task force. Any other public comment? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. That brings us to the end of that agenda item, and I think we're ready to hear from Lieutenant Governor Cooney regarding the governor's report. Lieutenant Governor, it's a pleasure to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be here. I know you normally have Siri Smiley sitting here. I know Siri. Siri's a friend of mine. I am no Siri Smiley. It's great to be with you all, and good morning, members of the board, Commissioner Christian, and all of the folks attending today. It was wonderful to see the media attention and reporting of the ceremonial groundbreaking and reception for the Yellowstone Science and Allied Health Building last night. So congratulations, MSUB, a great milestone. In June, Governor Bullock signed an executive order creating the Future Ready Montana Cabinet and tasking the cabinet with using labor market information and other data points to define Montana's 10 and 20-year workforce needs, and to set goals for the PK-12 post-secondary and apprenticeships to meet those needs. In his 2013 State of the State address, Governor Bullock set a goal of increasing the percentage of Montanans with a college degree, certificate, or credential to 60% by 2025. And in partnership with the MUS K-12 education, labor, and private sector, we have enhanced opportunities over the past 5 years to get us closer to reaching this goal. The Main Street Montana project in particular helped to align state and local efforts to strengthen Montana's talent pipeline and ensure that Montana workers have clear pathways to good-paying jobs. Apprenticeships have nearly doubled since 2011, and we are expanding this time-honored training model into non-traditional fields like healthcare, IT, accounting, and advanced manufacturing. Communities across the state are developing relevant, high-quality work-based learning experiences for high school students. Two-year colleges in the Montana University system are partnering with employers and the Registered Apprenticeship Program to develop customized apprenticeships connected to academic credit. The Future Ready Cabinet is both an expansion of our current efforts and a unification of the administration's education and workforce initiatives. Business owners and employers across the state continue to tell us that their #1 challenge is a shortage of workers with the skills they need to grow and expand their businesses. We know that with baby boomer retirements and an increasingly global and knowledge-based economy, we must redouble and unite our talent pipeline efforts and ensure that we have a skilled and trained workforce for today and tomorrow. I want to thank Commissioner Christian, who represents the MUS on the Cabinet. The Governor and I value the significant role that the Montana University system plays in education and workforce development and truly appreciate your partnership in this effort. Economic mobility, education, and workforce training are challenges that every state is grappling with, and that is why when Governor Bullock became chair of the National Governors Association in July, he made his chair initiative, Good Jobs for All Americans. Over the next year, through this initiative, we will gain some valuable insight about what promising solutions exist to match workers to good jobs. Specifically, Good Jobs for All Americans will take a close look at what governors across the country can do to provide workers with the skills needed to obtain good-paying jobs and ensure that employers find the workers they need today and into the future. And Montana certainly is leading that way. On behalf of Governor Bullock and myself, I also want to say thanks to the board and the Commissioner's office and the campuses for coming together to make free dual enrollment the 1-2 free program that Governor Bullock and the Commissioner announced last week a reality in Montana. This is a truly incredible opportunity for Montana students, and we have heard from folks all across the state that it will make a difference for themselves and their students. We know that rigorous college courses delivered in high school by highly qualified teachers have proven effective in increasing high school graduation rates, reducing post-secondary remediation, increasing completion rates, and decreasing time and cost to degrees. Students who took dual credit coursework in high school have higher first-year post-secondary grade point averages, higher second-year rates, and higher 4- and 6-year college completion rates. They're also completing post-secondary programs in less time. These results are even more pronounced for Pell-eligible and first-generation college students. The strength of dual enrollment programs, particularly in Montana, is that they are not just for advanced students looking to get a jump start on college and save a bit of money, although that is a benefit. The strength comes in access for a diverse set of students to be able to take college courses, probably in the comfort and security of their high school campuses, and see that they can succeed. Those students who may never have thought they were college material get a rigorous and engaging post-secondary experience, and the data tells us those students are more likely to pursue post-secondary degrees. Dual enrollment makes a difference for students, families, and employers across the state by saving money, streamlining workforce preparation, and inspiring more students to pursue higher education. I know I'm standing between you and your final agenda item, so I want to thank you again for the time today and for your service to the state of Montana. Governor Bullock and I are grateful for your commitment to education, to our future workforce, and to our state. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Cooney. We very much appreciate you coming and addressing us.
Delighted to join you anytime. Thank you.
We do have just one more agenda item.
I know.
And that is the call for public comment. Do we have any public comment to end our meeting? Public comment? Dr. Yarlett. Welcome.
On, okay. Hopefully my technology works here. If I can just get the reflection off. Madam Chair, members of the board and guests, thank you for allowing the tribal colleges to be a part of your meetings. I am David Yarlett Jr., President of Little Bighorn College and Crow Agency, approximately 65 miles southeast of here along Interstate 90. I also serve as the chair for the Montana Tribal College Presidents Association and also chair of the American Indian Higher Education Consortium Board, or as we call it, AHEC. AHEC is a consortium of 37 tribal colleges and universities, and Montana has the most TCUs of any state with 7. I have several comments and announcements to make. First of all, I want to express my appreciation to the Board of Regents and the MUS for your continued effort in the inclusion of tribal colleges and American Indians in your discussions. A couple of weeks ago, I participated in a forum discussing equity of access to higher education for American Indians. The forum was developed based on incidents that occurred at Colorado State University and also at Sheridan College, where Native students were subjected to actions that were negative in nature. I believe that the MUS does a great job in ensuring that those types of actions are minimal on their campuses. However, I mention this so that campuses don't become complacent in putting out that message to administrators, faculty, and staff that Native students need to be also acknowledged and recognized on campus. Too many times our Native students are invisible on campus. Word of mouth alone does not serve that purpose, but providing space and resources is always helpful. And as far, I just going to leave it there because I just wanted to mention that because I think the MUS, the Montana university system has done really well, much, much better than some of the other states, as was reported at the forum. So I want to acknowledge that Montana is doing really well in those areas, so I thank you for that. As for the announcements, tribal colleges and universities are celebrating 50 years since the creation of the first tribal college. Next year, 2019, tribal colleges will be celebrating 25 years of becoming land-grant institutions. And next March 16th through the 19th, 2019, the Montana Tribal Colleges will be hosting the 2019 AHEC Student Conference here in Billings. The Red Lion and Billings Hotel and Conference Center will co-host this event. Approximately 1,000 TCU students will be competing in academic bowl competitions, whether it's business, science, mathematics, knowledge, speech, art, and just a whole array of different areas. In total, including students, staff, faculty, administrators, board members, workshop presenters, and vendors, there will be approximately 1,500 participants. I invite you to consider attending, participating, or contributing to this event. In closing, again, thank you for allowing me time and listening to me. Aho.
Thank you so much. Any other public comment? Public comment. Joe?
There's a lady standing, there's a young lady standing back there. Does she have public comment?
I can't see. Public comment? No? All right.
It's my daughter. I
Is
was
it
trying to
really?
embarrass her.
You've done it.
Yeah, I think I got it done.
That brings us to the end of our agenda. Chancellor Edelman, would you like to say something?
Madam Chair, thank you, yes. Lieutenant Governor Cooney, welcome to our campus. Thank you very much for attending. I'd like to say, first of all, we're very happy and honored to have hosted the Board of Regents meeting and showcase our students and MSU Billings. It's been a wonderful opportunity for everybody. I first and foremost want to thank all the students in attendance and all the students that have helped us, the Regents, the Commissioner's staff, President Cruzado, President Bodnar, guests and friends of the Montana University system, our faculty, our staff, and the community as well. Our staff rose to high expectations this week. I found a new way to lose 8 pounds, and that's to have an investiture, a Board of Regents meeting, and a groundbreaking ceremony. But that's okay, it's worth it. I want to thank everyone for the investiture attendance. It was a wonderful opportunity. We tried to keep the expense at a minimum, but I wanted to send a message, and I believe we did together, that we're here to stay, we're invested in this community, and we're motivated to do great things here with the help of everybody in this room and beyond. It took a village to make everything work. Our staff worked hard at the groundbreaking event. I'm sad to say that we planned the event for 5 years, but forgot to turn the watering system off, so we'll do better next time. And last but not least, our staff, some of them are in the back of the room. They've been at this for quite a bit. They're all across the campus. Our OCHI staff as well. There's been lots of people working behind the scenes to make this event, our IT as well. I want to thank everyone, and I look forward to seeing you again at this campus and the changes that will be here the next time. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'd like to thank OCHI and the campuses for all the work that goes into making these meetings happen and bringing this information to us in such a concise fashion that we're able to do this in 2 days and today get out a little early. I'd especially like to thank Dr. Edelman. You have something else, Doctor?
Yeah, it's been a long week. We're selling bricks. This one cost me... This cost me $16,000, but you can have it for only $250, and I have the forms here.
Thank you. So thank you, Dr. Edelman and the MSUB campus for hosting us this week, and with that, we are adjourned.